Okay, good afternoon, everyone, on this sunny March 9th. Welcome, and we'll call our council meeting to order. First item, of course, to adopt the agenda. I have a recommendation here that the agenda for the March 9th, 2026 regular council meeting be accepted and passed. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Rankin, Councillor Hearn, thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. We'll do the disclosure of pecuniary interest thing. Councillor Rankin?
I have nothing.
Councillor Hearn?
Nope.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you there.
Nothing.
Okay, thank you. I have none to declare. Councillor McCabe?
I have one with regards to the MDS for Falkness. What number that is off the top of my head. It's just really close proximity to the Citron Brother business. I'd better sit out.
I'm sorry, which one is this?
Karen, that's on a future agenda. It's not on the agenda today.
Sorry.
None on today's agenda?
That should be good.
Okay. Councillor Burke?
Yes, under B2, application B77-25, I have an indirect pecuniary interest as some of the appendices have been prepared by my employer.
Okay, so there's 3 applications dealt with, and that will separate that one out and then deal with the other 2.
Thank you.
Okay.
He's on there. Oh,
I
I
guess
guess twice too. Sorry.
next on our agenda is O Canada, so we could rise for that. Okay, next up, we have our county council update. Welcome, Councillor O'Neill.
Now you have to hold it till it's green or.
It turned on the bottom.
There, it's green. Thank you. I would say good evening, but that was 2 weeks ago. I'm going to talk about recycling still, though. In the county and in the province, recycling has been taken over by the producers, circular materials. That means the county no longer pays to have recycling picked up, which is good. The bad is we don't have any influence over the collection issues. And there are collection issues throughout the province. For residents, if their collection is missed, keep your materials out and email canresidential@wm.com to report the issue. And make sure you tell them your address. You can also phone a 1-800 number, but I suggest the email because I've had better luck doing that. As you are aware, other changes that happened when the producers took over is they do not pick up recycling at businesses. Wellington County has implemented a program to pick up recycling in 14 downtown cores, and any other business in the county is able to get a fee exemption card to take their recyclable materials to our facilities at no charge. Beginning in April of this year, we are going to begin picking up recycling at any business in the 14 communities in the urban areas. Those businesses are now being contacted to see if they want a wheeled cart to participate. The carts are being collected on Thursdays and they start at 6 in the morning, and that is countywide. An improvement in recycling is the amount of new materials that can now be recycled, and it's province-wide. Chip bags, milk bags, toothpaste tubes, styrofoam meat trays, and more. And you can find a complete list at circularmaterials.ca. Recycling saves you money on user pay garbage bags and conserves our landfill capacity. The next anticipated step will be residents getting a wheeled cart to put their materials in, the same as our businesses have. 2 weeks ago, we didn't know when that was going to happen, but since then, we've been told in April of 2027, we will be getting carts to our residences. I will kind of believe it when I get my cart at my doorstep. Currently, county staff are preparing an RFP for our new collection services contract. Our collection contract is now into the point of getting 1-year renewals. It takes about 2 years once a vendor is contracted to get collection trucks ordered and delivered. And we are planning to have the new contract start in July of 2028. So just over 2 years. Some of the changes that we're going to be pricing out are an updated organic materials list, accepting kitty litter, pet waste possibly. Other municipalities are doing that. Carts for automated garbage pickup will be priced as well as keeping our current yellow bag manual pickup system. Also, we're going to price out what it would cost to have 5-day-a-week pickup instead of 4 that we currently have. We're Tuesday to Friday. And all of those changes will be priced, and then we'll make a decision on what, if any, changes will take place. The Elora transfer station did open up last week on Tuesday. And I'm sure a lot of you received an email that came out in the last 2 weeks from county staff, Kathy Weeb, and talks about some of the things I've mentioned with the carts. Some of the things they've talked to us about the carts that we are going to talk about tomorrow at our solid waste meeting. The size of the carts. Currently, the downtown cart is 240 liters. They're proposing right now 360-liter carts. We want to have a choice. Dufferin County just got their carts this past month. They had a choice. Residents could take the large cart or they could ask for a smaller one. So we're going to ask for that as well. That's all I've got. I think changes are happening. Changes are going to happen, and we'll deal with them as we can.
Thanks, Councillor O'Neill. Any questions for Steve? Councillor Burke?
Yeah, just more of a comment that I'd like to share with Councillor O'Neill, and that is that happy to hear when residents will potentially get their cards, and also happy to hear that the county is looking at 2 different sizes, because the comment that I get a lot from folks with this rollout of the new program, they know they're going to get carts, but where are they going to store the large carts is always the question. So if there's something that is of a reduced size and there's options, I think that would be a good option for residents.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Burke. That is something that we're going to be discussing tomorrow at our solid waste meeting. The size of the cart, I equate the 360-liter cart to something you'd find at the arena. It's not something that most households would use. Certainly some households that have a lot of recycling material with a large family, they'll want the larger cart, but you are right. We need a choice.
Councillor Rankin and then Councillor McCabe.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Lennox. I was wondering if you have the choice of the cart, which I agree is good because the really large carts are, I don't think, very applicable to most seniors. How are we going to be notified how we have the choice?
I'll use Dufferin County since they're the most recent ones that I know of. They put it out. The circular materials people put it out to them. Dufferin County put it out to the residents and told them a website they could go to that they could click on and say, I want a smaller cart or I want 2 carts. So there was choices there for them. But yeah, that's going to be a big thing. The other thing, we are currently on a 2-stream recycling system. We don't want to be on that anymore. Carts are not conducive to 2-stream. You just throw everything in the one cart and away it goes.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I know it's in the future, 2027, but I've been asked, what are people going to do with the blue boxes they have now? If they don't want to keep them, to use them for storage themselves, can they go in? I don't think they'll fit in the cart, but is there any way they can be taken back with the recyclables?
Yes, well, I'm sure we'll be setting up something like that. Most municipalities have done that already. They've given the residents, say, drop them off at the township office. Not really there. But I would suggest to people, certainly the ones living in the country, I would keep your blue boxes, and if possible, I would take your cart 20 feet from the end of your laneway. So if you have a place you can put it there and leave it there, and then take your blue boxes and dump them into the cart. So if you have a long laneway, it's not real convenient out in the country.
Thank you. That just solved one other problem I have. Thank you.
Councillor McCabe.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Lennox. I was going to touch on what Councillor Rankin said with some of the seniors in our area. But if there are 2 different sizes of bins, will that affect pickup? And by that I mean, will one truck still be able to?
Yes.
pick up both of the
Yep.
items?
Yep. They're not a whole lot. They're the biggest. It's marginally taller. It's deeper is the biggest thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I too would add my voice to smaller carts. Probably a great idea. Just I think it was this past week, I happened to drive past a driveway in Southgate, and I was struck by this poor older lady with a walker, struggling with her walker and her cart to try to get it out the lane out her driveway, which is probably from here to the edge of the yard from the road, and she was working hard at it. And the smaller cart certainly is going to be really important for people like that.
The measurements I've seen, they're not appreciably. You'd think they should be a lot smaller. It seems to be they're about 8 inches in depth smaller, maybe an inch narrower and an inch shorter, but they're not. They're still a fairly large.
It's going to be a struggle.
Yep, absolutely.
Additional weight makes it harder.
Yeah.
Dealing with the weather we've had this past few months, dragging it through the snow or what's left of the snow is it's a huge challenge.
Yep.
And I suspect that we will not be continue to be on weekly pickup once we go to those big carts as well with the recycling.
Oh, not likely. I'm sure that will change as well. If the producers could get away with monthly, they would.
Okay, Councillor Hearn, did you have questions?
Well, Mayor Lennox, you just asked my one question because I had read somewhere that we would likely be going to bi-weekly pickup. So I was just looking for some clarification on that. And yes, I can attest that they do take parts of bins because I just was at the Riverstown with a bin that was hit by the snowplow, and he just said, put it in that pile and fill out a form. So they take the recycled parts there. I did want to mention as well, I think I need to follow up with you, Councillor O'Neill. We we really need to work on bale wrap recycling. We need to discuss that again. So I'll reach out to you separately later, okay?
Very well.
Councillor Rankin?
Thank you. I was just thinking, they have asked that all the items going into recyclable be washed. And I'm just wondering, because the province is now saying it should be washed, how many more people that hand in recyclables not washed are actually going to be washing them? So how big a problem is that with having dirty containers in them, in the in the recyclable?
I wouldn't know what the contamination would do to a load that's going when it gets to one of these large sorting places that are being built now and where everything's going. Not rinsing out your peanut butter jar, I don't think is gonna destroy a whole recycling load that day. Because there's always contamination. Wellington County's, the residents have been really good over the years. Our contamination rate when we were running it was under 5%, which is extremely low. Province-wide, it's much higher than that. Our residents really did a good job with the two stream. And I would expect our residents will continue to do a good job with a single stream in a cart. And that's what we're going to be asking for, is a single stream when we get the carts. Absolutely.
Questions? Okay, thanks very much for joining us, Councillor O'Neill.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Okay, we have a minor variance application today we need to deal with, so we're gonna recess our council meeting in order to deal with that. And the recommendation I have here is that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North recess the March 9th, 2026 meeting at 2:18 p.m. for the purpose of holding meetings under the Planning Act. I get a mover to seconder, Councillor Burke and Councillor McCabe. Thank you. All those in favor? It's carried. So we'll switch over to the Committee of Adjustment. I'll call the Committee of Adjustment meeting to order. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest on that agenda? I have none. Councillor Wright?
I have none.
Councillor Hearn?
No.
Councillor McCabe?
I have none.
Councillor Burke?
I have none.
All right, thank you. We'll deal with the minutes from the last Committee of Adjustment meeting. And the recommendation that the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes of October 20th, 2025 be adopted as presented. Could I get a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Rankin? Burke, thank you. Any questions or comments on those minutes? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Our application today is A03/26 for 5053745 Ontario Inc. A property subject to proposed minor variance application is legally described as part of Park Lot 1, north side Durham Street and east side of Main Street and in Mount Forest, and is municipally known as 345 Durham Street East, Mount Forest. The property is approximately 0.66 acres in size and is shown on the map in your package. Purpose and effect of this minor variance application is to provide relief from the minimum required front yard setback of 9 meters for townhouse dwellings currently under construction. The proposed variance will permit a reduced front yard setback of 7.57 meters for the townhouse dwellings. Other variances may be considered where deemed appropriate. How was notice given for this public meeting?
Notices were mailed to property owners within 60 meters of the property and as well sent to the applicable agencies. Signage was posted on the property on February 25th, 2006.
Okay, thank you. Curtis?
Good afternoon, Mayor Lennox and committee members. So council or committee may recall the subject property was rezoned last fall to permit the construction of 4 townhouse dwellings. The rear portion of the lot was not rezoned, and this remains R1C. And the plan is that this rear portion be merged with the adjacent property, 119 Byland Drive. A deeming bylaw has been passed by the Township Council to facilitate this merger. And a part lot control exemption application has also been filed to facilitate the division of the 4 townhouse dwellings. As part of the rezoning of the front portion of the property to R2, a site-specific exception was included that set the front yard setback of the townhouse dwellings at 9 meters. 9 meters was chosen as a minimum setback to try and create a consistent streetscape, which would mean the new dwellings have a similar setback to the existing dwellings on the street. In terms of the county official plan, the subject property is within the urban center Mount Forest. Section 13.7 of the plan provides consideration for minor variances, provided the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw is maintained, and the variance is minor and desirable for the appropriate development of the land. The county plan also states that consideration shall be given as to whether compliance with the bylaw would be unreasonable, undesirable, or would pose an undue hardship to the applicant. In terms of the township zoning bylaw, the subject property is zoned medium density residential site specific R2-80. The applicant is requesting relief from the minimum required front setback of 9 meters, reduced to 7.57 meters. I note that the variance would only apply to the front portion of the property, which is zoned R2-80. And finally, I trust that this information will be of assistance to the committee when making their decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis. We have correspondence in your package from Saugus Valley Conservation Authority, and it's a note from Annette and Bob Fox. Has any further correspondence been received in respect to this application?
Yes, we received an email on March 8th from Lauren Campbell, and it was circulated to council via email.
The other app.
Oh, sorry. No, there's no further information.
Okay. Any persons wishing to be notified of the decision must submit a written request to the Secretary Treasurer. And with that, I'll open the floor for questions or comments from the applicant and or the public. Okay.
Good afternoon, Council. Dana Kiefer with Cobite Engineering. Curtis did a great job going over the policy part of it. I'll maybe explain what happened a little bit or how we got here. First of all, Brad sends his regrets. He did have a planned trip for this day, and in the interest of the application moving forward, this was scheduled and he was unable to attend. So you just get little old me today. So the front yard setback was increased through the meeting. After that time, Wilson Developments, the person who normally handled this stuff, actually left the company. So when the site plan was prepared by Van Harten, that increase in setback was not communicated to them. And normally this would be then submitted to the township and caught at that level, but unfortunately it wasn't caught there too. So we are at the portion now where the foundation has been poured and it's partially framed. So Brad is requesting that relief of what is constructed. It has been surveyed at 7.57 to allow that construction to continue. Happy to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Registered to speak on this one?
No.
Okay. Anybody else here wish to speak to this application? Okay, we'll turn it over to committee members. Any questions or comments from committee members?
I have none.
Seeing any, we'll move to the decision. And the decision would read as follows: that the minor variance applied for in application A01/26 for the property described as part of Park Lot 1, North Side Durham Street and East Side Main Street. Plan, Town of Mount Forest, with a civic address of 345 Durham Street East, to provide the following relief. Number one, that a reduced front yard setback of 7.57 meters be permitted for the townhouse dwellings, whereas the bylaw requires a 9-meter setback. All those in favor? That's approved. Thank you. And we'll move right to adjournment then from this Committee of Adjustment. And the recommendation is that the Committee of Adjustment hearing of March 9th, 2026 be adjourned at 2:26 p.m. Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor Burke. Favor? Carried. Thank you. We're adjourned from our Committee of Adjustment meeting. Back to resuming our regular council meeting. We have a recommendation that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Wellington North resume the March 9th, 2026 meeting of council at 2:26 p.m. Moved by Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Hearn. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I think that brings us to adoption of the minutes of the council and public meeting. We have a recommendation that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on February 23rd, 2026 be adopted as circulated. Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor Burke. Questions, comments on those minutes? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And then we're on to identifying items required for separate discussion and for identified so far today. 12B1, 12B2, 12B3, 12F1, 12G1, and then bylaw 19-2026 when we get to bylaws. So we'll deal with all the ones that have not been identified. And the recommendation is that all items listed are their items for consideration on the March 9th, 2026 council agenda, with the exception of those items identified for separate discussion, be approved and the recommendations therein be adopted. Moved by Councillor Burke, seconded by Councillor McCabe. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. So we'll move to 12B1, which is consent application B1/26. There is a lengthy recommendation in your package in front of you, as usual with the consent applications. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Rankin and Councillor McCabe, thank you. Any questions or comments on those? Councillor McCabe?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Lennox, I'm just looking at this one, and is this severance just splitting the existing semi-detached homes from each other? Is that the kind of the gist of this one? Just for clarification.
Through Mayor Lennox to Councillor McCabe, yes, yeah, just to separate the two existing
All right, thank you.
units.
Any other questions or comments on this one? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 12B2, and we're going to split this one apart because Councillor Burke has a pecuniary interest with regard to item B77-25. So we'll pull it out and deal with it second. So we'll read the recommendation here for 7981. And the recommendation is that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive for information report DEV 2026-009 regarding the notices for the following consent applications received from the County of Wellington Planning and Land Division Committee. Notice of decision B79-25 Bolts Grain Limited, Part Lot 16, Concession 10, known as 9029 Concession 11. And notice of deferral for B81-25 for Catherine Lake, Part Lot 28, Concession 1, known as 7269 Jones Baseline in the former West Garifrax Township. Did I get a mover in a second? Rankin and Councillor Burke, thank you. Questions or comments on those two applications? Councillor Rankin, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify that the severance is going to go down to 2 acres.
Which application are you referring to?
Sorry, B81-25.
Okay, that one's been deferred. Curtis, do you know what's the status of that one?
Yes, so it was deferred in light of concerns raised with the large size of the actual lot proposed, the retained lot. So it has been taken back by the applicant to come up with an improved reconfiguration. So once they do, it would go back to the committee for a final decision.
Any other questions or comments on those? All those in favor? It's carried. Do it all again, just with B77-25. The recommendation here is that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive for information report DEV 2026-009 regarding the notice for the following consent application received from the County of Wellington Planning and Land Division. This is the notice of decision for B77-25 for Sharon Lee Nelson, part lot 15, West Side Main Street, known as 149 and 153 Main Street South in the town of Mount Forest for a lot line adjustment. I get a mover and a seconder, Councilor McCabe and Rankin. Questions or comments on that one? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Move on to 12B3. This is the report regarding Sarah Properties, official plan amendment, draft plan of subdivision, and zoning bylaw and applications. So we have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received the planning report from Curtis Marshall, Manager of Development Planning, County of Wellington, dated February 26, 2026, regarding final recommendation report, Sarah Properties Limited for OPA 2025-02, zoning bylaw amendment 03/25, and draft plan of subdivision 23T-25001, regarding concession 1, part of lot 1, east side of Eliza Street in Arthur. I get a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councilor Burke and Councilor McCabe. Thank you. Questions, comments? Councilor McCabe.
Excuse me, thank you, through you. I know last time we chatted about this, there's no allotments granted for this proposed subdivision, so I don't know, has that been moved forward or they applied for them, or I haven't heard anything about it?
Through you, Mayor Lennox, the township receives those applications in April, and I believe we're expecting an application from the developer on this. So council will see that again in a month or so.
We require a number of these things to happen before we consider the
Yes.
applications too.
Yes.
Other questions, Councilor Burke?
Yes, so thank you through you, Mayor Lennox. With regards to the current standards and the final requests, I appreciate that the developer took back some of the comments that were both made around this table and at the public meeting. However, I still believe that there are a lot of asks with regards to reductions with the bylaws that we have set out. So I'm just wondering, is this the final request, or is there room for additional improvement on the plan?
Not sure who I should direct that to. Do you gentlemen want to tackle that one?
Hi, good afternoon.
Light, green light on?
Yep.
there? Okay, if you could just state your name, please, just.
Certainly. Brendan Flelling from GSP Group. I'm a planning consultant, joined by Mr. Walter Bruce as well, the developer. So yeah, thank you for your comments about the zoning reductions. We certainly heard loud and clear at the public meeting that the initial ask was maybe pushing the envelope a little bit too far. We spent a lot of time working with Curtis and Darren and township and county staff to look at the zoning standards. And really what we're down to is a request for exterior side yard reductions. And then some, there's a couple little requests in terms of the higher density block, in terms of building height and the number of units that can be attached. But certainly we heard the comments about past reductions in front yard setback reductions or rear yard, interior side yards. We've accommodated all of those. So I would say this is our final request. We think we've come a long way to hear the comments and make sure that this is a subdivision that meets the majority of the intent and the regulations of the township zoning bylaw. The exterior side yard setback reduction from 6 meters to 4.2, as it says in the staff report, still allows for adequate snow storage, still allows for suitable on-street parking opportunities. So we think that request can be accommodated and still take into consideration the past comments. But certainly interested in hearing any additional comments you might have on that, or answer further questions as possible.
Any other questions, Councilor Rankin?
Thank you. Yes, I'm pleased that you have taken some of our considerations and looked at them. But I'm just wondering, the parking lot for the apartment, it didn't mention it this time. Can you tell me how much available space you have per unit for that now?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So ultimately, the apartment block would still be subject to a site plan approval process. We don't have a detailed site plan at this time, and we're not requesting a parking reduction. So it really will come down to the ultimate design of what can be accommodated on the property, what the zoning regulations are, looking at all the setbacks and so on. So further details of that, there's a holding provision in the zoning as well that requires site plan approval. So we'll go through that detailed design when we get to it, but we're just not at that stage at this point.
So you're still looking at 1.25 spaces only per unit?
We're still looking, we'd be, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, we're looking to meet the zoning requirement, the standard zoning requirement for parking.
Okay, it's 1.5. Okay, and I was just wondering, have you made any attempts to design the subdivision so that they comply with all of the bylaws?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we took a look, and as you noted, we came back with a much toned down request in terms of what we had originally presented for the zoning relief. And really, on the bulk of the subdivision, for the single detached and street townhouse blocks, we're only down to an exterior side yard setback request. And if you look at the subdivision plan overall, there's not a lot of actual exterior side yards. You know, it's only a corner lot where there's two streets. So it's not, well, it painted across the entire subdivision. There's probably only a handful of lots that actually have an exterior side yard where that request would be realized in real life. So we think we've looked at all the options and landed on that one, allowing a little bit more of an efficient building program overall, but still hearing that a bigger exterior side yard is required, and knowing that on-street parking needs to be accommodated. Snow removal or snow piling locations need to be provided. So we think we found the balance in that.
I'm wondering, the bylaw says 6 units together for the townhouses, and you're requesting 8. If you went down to the bylaw of 6, then you would have maybe some of the other bylaws in accordance as well for setbacks.
Again, through you, Mr. Mayor, that one's an interesting one, and we find it in many communities. It's a numerical number of 6 townhouse units attached, but there's not sort of a physical dimension or a dimension that's provided with that. And we've seen building plans where 6 bungalow townhouses would in fact be a longer span than 8 two-story townhouses, if you actually measured it out. The other part of that is those townhouse blocks would be subject to site plan control as well. And we'd need to look at, the final plan as it's laid out and make sure that all of the other zoning considerations are properly considered. And if not, there's a holding provision that's proposed in the zoning that site plan approval must first be achieved. So there'll be some back and forth with staff, but again, it's just to provide a bit more flexibility. The building code also would dictate if the block of 8 gets too long and there's a firewall requirement in between, then that's a building code requirement that can't be waived. So those types of considerations would really come up through site plan approval. The idea for requesting it now at the zoning is just for a little bit more flexibility to try and offer some different units on these blocks or on that block.
Okay, thank you. And one last question. On the diagram, it shows street D, and I'm just wondering where it's going. According to the diagram, it looks as though it's just going into a field, that there's no road continuing on once they get to the end of it.
Mr. Mayor, Street D it has been aligned to match up with the subdivision to the north. And when they register their next phase, I think it's the 5th phase, that street will connect to the existing subdivision to the north.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor McCabe?
Thank you. And through, I'm not sure who this is kind of for, but with the apartment buildings going from 6 to 4, which I grant is a concession on your end, are we still able as a fire service to service the 4th floor without calling it back up from Minto or Dundee?
Through you, Mayor Lennox. The fire department has not raised any concerns with the 4-story height, and we've got a number of apartment buildings in Mount Forest that are 4 stories.
Did you follow up?
No, I think that's it for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? I just have one, and I just having trouble visualizing, maybe, is the problem. When we get to these larger blocks of townhomes, having lived in townhomes, the times servicing the backyard can be a challenge. Is there going to be enough room to be able to, for somebody that needs some service work in their backyard, that they could get equipment in to deal with it?
Certainly, in response to that, so the only location that we're asking for the extended block of 8 would be on a we call it the high density block. It's block 16 on the plan. And that would most likely be developed in a condominium format so that the condo would be responsible for that type of maintenance. And that would be sort of outlined in the condominium document, saying that you need to make sure your stuff's cleaned up and that the maintenance crews can get back there, and that there's an ability for individuals to get to their backyards as necessary.
Chris?
Mayor Lennox, there's a few options that would be available as well. There's designs where people have access directly from their garage to the rear yard. That is a possibility. And then in other cases where there isn't that access, it's quite typical that we would ask for an easement to be provided. So there is access to the internal backyards for when that's needed for maintenance or to bring something back there that you need to.
Is that something that we would be scrutinizing through the site plan process?
Typically that would be through the part law control process that we would ask for that easement to be shown and put into place through part law controls.
Thank you. Councilman Kate?
Sorry, just one more, and through you, Mayor Lennox. From the note from Lauren Campbell, she had noticed that the proposed block, the commercial block 17, says there's no access to the residential portion, or is there, like that I won't be in this property?
Thank you.
And that's sort of scheduled to.
Yep. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So there's a pedestrian access that's proposed, but I know in the email that was received this morning, their specific request was, is there an opportunity for a vehicular access? And we looked at that through the development of this plan and the connectivity between the commercial block and the residential. The problem is the grading of the two blocks just can't make it work. As you know, as you drive along 109 and you look up at the property, it's a hill. So the commercial block is going to be kind of built into the hill, and then the residential will be up higher. And we just couldn't make the grades work for a vehicular street or a road. But maybe the other comment in response to that is that traffic signals are proposed in front of the commercial block. And through the traffic studies and through discussions of this design, we think that's going to provide ample opportunity for gaps in the traffic, so that while you're not coming straight through the subdivision in the commercial block, the traffic signals along there are going to open up gaps and make it quite accessible from that perspective. So.
Thank you.
Councilor Rankin?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lennox. I was just wondering about the commercial block. You're asking for reprieve for the front and the back of the building. Is there going to be enough room for snow removal?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Member. Very good question. Yeah, the commercial property sort of pushes the buildings to the exterior, and then we'll have the parking to the front. A snow removal contract will be required to maintain the property, and extra snow on the site is going to have to be removed if it becomes problematic in terms of availability of parking spaces, that type of thing. So all the asphalt areas where snow is going to accumulate and where vehicles are not in those locations where the setback reductions have been requested. So operationally, certainly Walter could speak to it from other commercial plazas, but there's great opportunity to make sure that the snow can be accommodated and taken away if absolutely necessary.
Any other questions? Okay. Any other questions with regard to this? Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I think think I read the recommendation. It seems like a while ago now, but and I had a mover and a seconder, correct? All right, so I'll just call the question then. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to the 12F1. This is the resurfacing update. We have a recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report INF 2026-002 Main Street resurfacing project update, and that council authorized the mayor and clerk to sign the bylaw to enter into an extended warranty agreement with Cox Construction Limited. Could I get moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor Burke? Questions, comments on this one? Councillor McCabe?
Thank you, and through you, excuse me, Mayor Lennox. I understand the disruption to the complete removal of the poor asphalt that is there right now. But would it not be better to just completely actually redo it? I know it would be temporary pain for what I call long-term gain. I'm not sure who to put that to, because then we have a kind of a follow-up
Through you, Mayor Lennox.
there. Thank you, Tammy.
Sorry, I'm having technical issues, but I can answer your question. So just to give a little bit of the background on how we test the asphalt. So we take a small sample of the asphalt to test for quality assurance, and this verifies that all the properties of the asphalt mix design have been met. So the asphalt mix design is kind of like a cake recipe where different ingredients goes into it to make the preferred asphalt mix based on the environment and traffic conditions. The asphalt test revealed that some of the parameters failed and others that were borderline. So although we don't have 100% certainty that the asphalt will fail, the quality assurance test results have some concerning factors on it. So we're proposing to have we currently have a 2-year maintenance period with the current contract, and we've negotiated for an additional 3-year warranty for a total of 5 years that we can monitor the asphalt. So by entering into an extended warranty period and implementing a monitoring program, this would allow us to monitor the asphalt to see if there's any asphalt failures. And if there are any asphalt failures, then the warranty period would deal with the removal and replacement of the deficiencies at that time. So this will just be able to allow us to monitor the asphalt and then deal with the construction for the removal and replacement and the disruption for downtown core.
Thank you.
Other question, Councillor McCabe?
Yeah, just kind of as a bit of a follow-up. I guess we don't really have any actual guarantees then aside from just taking small samples, sorry. Is it hate to go through this again in a year or two, even though we have a 5-year guarantee? I guess that's maybe more of a comment.
Okay. I was struggling to figure out how to direct that one.
All right.
Any other questions, comments from council? Councillor Burke.
Yes, so through you, Mayor Lennox, thank you to Tammy and her staff for the report. Some of my questions were answered with your explanation, Tammy, so thank you for that. I guess my concern is we have the extended warranty, and it sort of goes back to Councillor McCabe's question. We know that there are some areas now, and there may be potentially some areas in the future. The installation of the asphalt, like, is it going to be sort of seamless the way it is now? Or is it going to look more like a bit of a patch quilt when we're done?
If there's a deficiency shows up is what
Yes.
you're asking.
Yes.
Okay. Tammy, can you comment on that?
Yes, through you, Mayor Lennox, to Councillor Burke. So within the monitoring agreement, we do have parameters that if we determine that there are deficiencies, that the limits would be removed and replaced. So it would be from the edge of pavement to the center line. If it's found like in the northbound lane, then only that lane would be done. And then we would carry on from there. So it wouldn't be like a full replacement from Sligo all the way down to Queen Street, but we would be monitoring specific areas.
Any other questions or comments on this? Certainly not the outcome we all hope for, but I think this is a reasonable approach to try to work through it. So hopefully we don't have to take any further action, but let's be, at least we'll be better prepared if we do. So I'll call the question then. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Move on to 12G1. This is the OMERS governance. Recommendation here that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive for information the OMERS governance changes and Bill 68. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Rankin and Councillor McCabe. Questions, comments on this one? Councillor McCabe?
Thank you, and through you again, Mayor Lennox, I would move that we use the template letter to voice or show our support to not change overs and to not allow a minister to have authority over the owners council or committee, whatever they want to call it, as it's not the provincial government's money. It's actually municipal money and the employees' money itself. Right.
Okay, so the recommendation we have right now is just to receive for information. So what I think you're asking, Councillor McCabe, is a direction to staff to submit a response in toolkit, voicing our lack of support.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that need to get moved or?
Well, let's go around and see if we have some other discussion first, and then we'll come back to that if that's okay.
Yep, of course.
Councillor Rankin?
Thank you through you, Mayor Lennox. I too would like to approve sending the letter. I think with the minister ruling it, then it's going to be too much fluctuation. And also, I don't know if anybody else remembers, it was quite a while ago, I think maybe when Bob Ray was premier. At that time, OMERS had a surplus of money in their account, and Bob Ray was after it for the province. And I'm afraid if the situation goes through as it is now, they will have the ability to do that, which I disagree with.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Councillor Burke?
I would also agree with the comments that have been made here and believe that this is just another overreach by Queen's Park. They have other issues to deal with, and this is something that we should be looking after.
Okay. Councillor McCabe?
Just a kind of a side note on this as well. We talked about this at our Roma meeting, and it's a bit of a push from the Toronto Police Services and the Toronto Firefighters Association. But in contrast, the retired firefighters of Ontario are pushing back against this as well. So it's, I think it's an issue of two large union or contributors pushing back against this and somehow getting the ear of the province, and hopefully we can stop them in their tracks, because it's not their money to deal with.
Okay. And from a staff perspective, are we okay with?
So there's two
submitting?
ways. You can adopt that resolution, motion, and direct staff to mail this letter, or you could amend the motion to include the resolution that they've sent, and then direct staff to send the letter together with the resolution.
Okay.
So you would have to do a friendly amendment to that.
Okay.
All right.
Councillor McCabe, do you have a preference on how we?
I'm fine with a friendly amendment.
So you'd like to proceed with the resolution? Then, who did I have moving and seconding that? Are you okay with amending that?
To include that we.
Yeah, so
So you're going to pass that resolution.
I better read it and make sure everybody understands what we're doing. Here. So a recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive for information the OMERS governance changes in Bill 68. And further, whereas the Ontario Municipal Employees Retirement System pension fund serves over 1,000 employers and over 500,000 employees and retirees from diverse groups, including municipal governments, school boards, libraries, police and fire departments, Children's Aid Society, and electricity distribution companies. And whereas the longstanding jointly sponsored governance model with two corporate boards has provided stability, accountability, and fairness for both plan members and employers for more than 2 decades. And whereas the Government of Ontario has passed legislative changes to OMERS governance structure through Bill 68, and whereas these changes would replace the current OMERS Sponsors Corporation with a new Sponsors Council that would lose its corporate status and independent resources, and whereas the proposed model could allow pension decisions affecting municipal employers and employees to be made without meaningful municipal oversight, increasing financial risk for municipalities and local taxpayers. And whereas municipalities are already under significant fiscal strain and cannot absorb additional pension costs without consequences for property taxes or local services, therefore be it resolved that Wellington North does not support, or the Township of Wellington North does not support the legislative changes to the OMERS Act contained in Bill 68, and requests that the Government of Ontario reconsider the advisability of proceeding with these changes. Further, be it resolved that the Township of Wellington North Council supports the Association of Municipalities of Ontario in calling on the Government of Ontario to, number one, ensure sponsors retain full control without restrictions over their appointments to the new Sponsors Council and Administration Corporation. Two, guarantee the Sponsors Council's independence from the plan administrator and access to resources needed to perform its duties. And three, limit the minister's regulation-making authority over the plan design and the Sponsors Council internal affairs. Be it further resolved that this resolution be circulated to the Honorable Rob Flack, Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs, the Honorable Peter Bethlen Falvey, Minister of Finance, our MPP Matthew Ray, and the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. That was a mouthful. Any final discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
And then out of that, the minutes will show that staff were directed to submit the motion together with the letter.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Just trying to think of the process here. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of items for consideration. We do have some possible further discussion with regard to the bylaw that we dealt with, that we'll deal with regard to the subdivision that we discussed earlier. But let's just carry on and we'll go through the request. Is there any notice of motion this afternoon? Seeing none, will anybody have any community group meeting reports they'd like to share today? Councilor McCabe?
I have Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority meeting on Wednesday at 1. That's it from me, aside from, I believe we're supposed to be going to Wellington Heights tomorrow as well for an in-class session with a couple of their classes. So that should be quite interesting as well.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything they'd like to report on today? Okay. Seeing any, we'll move on to bylaws. So we'll pull out 19. So I'll read the recommendation here that bylaw number 15-2026, 16-2026, 17-2026, and 18-2026 be read and passed. So I'm leaving 19 out for another resolution. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Burke and Councillor McCabe, thank you. Questions, comments on any of those bylaws? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And now we will deal with the 19, and the recommendation is that bylaw number 19-2026 be read and passed. Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor Hearn. Thank you. Questions, comments? Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, thank you. I just have one quick question on that. I guess I understand it all and stuff like that, and we've talked about it before, but I wasn't sure if they've gotten GRCA approval for the education center.
That was an error. Those last 2 pages of that bylaw were from a former bylaw.
Oh, okay.
And when I drafted the bylaw, I forgot to take them out.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't form part of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Rankin?
I think I put my hand up a little hasty when we were discussing this before, so I'll reverse my decision on this time for the bylaw.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to our cultural moment. Naming a Mount Forest. It should be interesting. I forget the name it had previously, but I'm sure I'm going to learn it again soon.
The Wellington North Cultural Roundtable presents A Cultural Moment, the story of Mount Forest's naming. The town of Mount Forest was first settled in the early 1840s, but did you know it was not always known by its current name? In 1837, the land was being surveyed for the construction of the Garafraxa Road, now known as Highway 6. The surveyor assigned to the task was Charles Rankin. During his work, Rankin made a well-known digression around Luther Swamp, traveling northwest to avoid the difficult terrain. His plan was to turn north once the swamps were behind him. At that turning point, near a river with rapids, Rankin was joined by Chief Nawash, who had traveled south through the forest from his settlement near Owen Sound. When Rankin asked the name of the river, Chief Nawash told him it was called the Saugeen. Rankin recorded this name on his maps. After Rankin completed his survey, however, the government determined that his proposed route was too winding and expensive. In 1841, a second surveyor, John MacDonald, was sent to reevaluate the area. Working alone and disregarding the earlier findings of Rankin and Chief Nawash, MacDonald mistakenly identified the river as the Maitland River. Based on this error, the land reserved along the river became known as Maitland Hills. With conflicting reports from two surveyors, the government sent an exploration party down the Saugeen River in 1844 to settle the matter. When the party drifted by Maitland Hills while on the Saugeen River, it confirmed that Rankin and Chief Nawash had been correct in identifying the river. As a result, the village sought a new name. Surrounded by dense forest and located approximately 430 meters above sea level, making it one of Ontario's higher elevated communities, the name Mount Forest was chosen. In later years, the town adopted its well-known motto, High, Healthy, Happy, a nod to its elevated location above sea level.
I knew the history of the name, but I'd forgotten it. Okay, we'll just draw your attention to some of the upcoming meetings, notices, etc. So the Mount Forest BIA will meet tomorrow at 8 a.m. Mount Forest Chamber of Commerce next Tuesday, the 17th at 5 p.m. The Arthur Chamber of Commerce next Wednesday, the 18th at 8:30 a.m. And the Arthur BIA next Wednesday, the 18th at 7:30 p.m. And our next regular council meeting will be the 23rd at 7 p.m. So with that, I think all we have left to say is adjournment. Oh, sorry, confirming bylaw. The recommendation that bylaw number 20-2026 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North at its regular meeting held on March 9th, 2026 be read and passed. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Rankin and Councillor Burke. Thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. And now adjournment. We have a recommendation that the regular council meeting of March 9th, 2026 be adjourned at 3:04 p.m. Moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor Burke. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.